Hello, this is Tony Heller from realclimatescience.com, setting the record straight about the worst crisis in human history. A year ago, the worst crisis in human history was the 1 part per 10,000 increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide, which had occurred over the last century. This was going to cause all life on Earth to go extinct. People dressed in red covered the world. They blocked the streets and wouldn't let people go to work. It was an emergency, the worst emergency which humankind had ever faced. But all of a sudden, the people dressed in red disappeared and we had a new emergency. Somebody ate a bat in China and then they started welding people in their homes. This was clearly the worst emergency which humankind had ever faced. I responded to this crisis by heading to the beach in Costa Rica. But when I came back to the United States, the country was immersed in the worst toilet paper crisis in world history. So the government jumped in and took action by emulating China and telling people they had to stay home. This put 40 million people out of work, but for some reason the press didn't seem to think that was a crisis. The only thing that was important was that people stayed home. They didn't go to their job, they didn't go to church, they didn't socialize. But then, just when things started to get better, we had a new world's worst crisis. White supremacy and 19th century slavery became the worst problems the world had ever faced. And suddenly it was no longer important for social justice protesters to socially distance. These protesters flooded the streets and spread the bat virus everywhere. And now we have fascists dressed in black who call themselves anti-fascists. They say we need to burn down our cities because 19th century slavery is the worst crisis we've ever faced. But what happened to the people in red? A year ago, carbon dioxide was the worst crisis the world had ever faced. It should be obvious to anyone paying attention that these groups are very well organized and very well financed. These are not accidental, random, or spontaneous occurrences. And they're doing it with the full complicity of the press and many politicians. Somebody is paying for and organizing this endless barrage of propaganda and insanity. I've been documenting the big lie in climate for the past 12 years. There's something very wrong going on in our society, and we need to stop it. Edmund Burke said, "All that's needed for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." What's going on is scary, and the natural tendency for many people is to simply close their eyes and pretend they don't see it. But that's not a strategy for success. Toto is out there doing his part every day. You can visit him on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.